Hi, everyone. Barry Brager, Perception Partners, here to talk about competitive landscaping haiku. What is knowable in 10 minutes or less using a carbon capture example in the NLR.com platform? The website poets.org describes a haiku as often focusing on images from nature and emphasizing simplicity, intensity, and directness of expression. Like haiku, an IP technology landscape captures moments in time, provokes with vivid images, tells a short story, and delivers a sense of sudden enlightenment. Now, industrial and fossil fuel produced carbon dioxide comprises 60% or more of gases trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, contributing to global warming through the greenhouse effect. A haiku: CO2 capture, sequester, or utilized, an unsolved problem. Businesses around the world are investing heavily and strategically to avoid, capture, and utilize carbon dioxide that's emitted from industry and from fossil fuel use to meet their own ESG targets and to deal with pressures and responsibilities in business. Elon Musk has put $100 million of his own money forward in terms of the X Prize for gigaton scale carbon removal from our atmosphere. This problem still needs to be solved by all of us. Now, there are innumerable technologies that are emerging around the world and other incentives to accelerate carbon capture, removal, or even avoiding creating carbon dioxide industrially in the first place. But which technologies will win? How do you place your bets? And how can you know who's right to work with? Well, through all this technical creation are signals, foundational elements of IP. These things, patents, applications, literature and regulatory white paper matter, and news, press releases, and blogs, and other types of business chatter surfacing online every minute. Really, tens of thousands of patents and applications weekly, many more thousands of literature, regulatory filings, and millions of news articles and news bits that need to be brought together. But like a haiku, these foundational IP signals can be used, these simple elements, combined for analytic business stories, especially in carbon capture and utilization. So let's take a look at how we might do that. I'm showing a landscape dashboard. There's 15,000 things in this dashboard. I've got a filter run just on a few things I like. One green patent, one gold application, one news orange, one literature article in violet, just some examples of things that I can bring in homogeneously and consistently over time. This information can be explored and browsed. It can be commented and marked up and linked to the full text online. Now, not only can I summarize records, but I can identify who is doing what in carbon capture and utilization, starting to understand where the most action is across literature, news, patents and applications, or a combination thereof from global players, this using data since 2010 all the way up till about last month. Now, with this information and looking at companies, I don't have to look at just who has the most. I can look at organizations by ways they stand out. In this case, I've got a list of companies that have raised $100 million or more since 2016. And with this data, I can start to take a different viewpoint. Here, I'm looking at a view of entity by an expanded profile. A moment ago, I had collapsed profiles. Here are my expanded profiles. And I can compare one entity to another across a number of different dimensions. Here's another way to look at entities. I can filter them. I can see just what's happening by just their patent portfolios, where now everything's only in green, if you will, in terms of this data I'm looking at. Or what's recent. This is only data since 2019, still of the companies that have raised 100 million or more. Now, if I want to compare these folks side by side, maybe I want to just look at their taxonomies. What I'm seeing here, these sunbursts, are really technical descriptors of carbon capture technologies, devices or elements in their inventions, stages of capture and utilization they focus on, and other types of indicators, features, and benefits, so that from one entity to another, I can see who's doing what. And I'm not just looking here at categories of technology, I can also look at categories of business events. Now, these events are IP events, business events, financial events. Let's take a closer look. The patterns are starting to emerge. Here's a pattern I like. I have a company that stands out busy, activity across IP events, activity from the news I see in orange across various business events. Let's drill down first and then drill up and get a closer look at this particular grouping. So this comes from a company called LanzaTech. We know they've raised $100 million. There's 24 records out of 15,000 that have caught our attention. They've been filed or shown up since 2014, started as IP. Now there's a fair amount of news. I can see who they partner with, some deal activity, some achievements, orders of magnitude of money in the millions or more, and IP. Some of it's lower quality, some of it's higher quality, a nice mix. Now, what's interesting to me in particular is how collaborative they might be. If they've raised a lot of money, the market speaks. There's something interesting here. And news shows that there's commercial progress. It's fairly recent news, too. I can see here in 2021, I've got quite a few articles. And so I see they partner, they collaborate. There's a JV. Let's take a look at the partnering band and see what's going on. By clicking this outer orange band here, I can actually drill down to the related IP documents. Now I'm back in those records that I was looking at before, but these 5 records have a partner tag. Here I see 4 just at a glance, and I see a relationship with Coty, one with British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, a Chinese partner, really to do, looks like utilization of CO2 for new products. Here for sustainable fragrance. These are for sustainable biofuels. Here, gas to ethanol. A lot going on with LanzaTech. They have a lot of capability, and they're really making they really have traction. So maybe what I can do is emphasize, I see a trend here, 2 different aerospace players. Let me make a mark. I'll vote them up. I'll add a comment. I can hop to or filter my voter records whenever I want, but I'm learning who's doing what, who are they working with, how recent is it, where am I discovering it? Now, let's take a study just on LanzaTech in the big picture. So here I've jumped. I was looking at my records, which came from my categories, which I discovered from my organizations, but now I'm looking at my landscape. In my landscape map, a satellite view of all of the companies as rows by all of my technology categories as columns, I've gone to a column called aerospace or aircraft. And I've double clicked it, I've selected on it, and I've just sorted how many records do I see from each player from most to least in this topic. It's not nearly as populated as several other topics, so a bit of a white space. So traction really matters here. The world's largest aerospace players I see are among the world's largest aerospace players. They're at the top of my list for those named entities I can identify. But then there's LanzaTech. I mean, they are sitting here amongst a number of big players. And really at that intersection, a few key patent application, really a patent family, 3 key news articles, and probably more once I start digging right in a space where I see it's pretty sweet for them, potentially. So maybe I want to map that portfolio, talk to my colleagues, do extra research, but I need to get it out of this tool in such a way where those folks who haven't experienced the data like I have can appreciate it. So I'm going to write them a very short and sweet summary, like a haiku is to poetry. And so I'm going to go back to my organizational profiles. And in this instance here, I'm going to make a quick comment. Yeah, this is something I want to share with my team and save that comment. And then I'm going to click a create slides button. Right now, I've kind of got the pilot's view of the data, to use the aerospace analogy. I kind of have all these dimensions packed in a way where I can see, who and what and when and where, but it may not be something that should be absorbed quite so quickly for a team who hasn't explored the data like I have. By clicking my slide creation, I basically can explode that densely packed tile into individual slides. Now my output over time trend breathes a little bit. A little more air, a little more white space, but now I can kind of crawl through and see those things that were packed. Now, one slide at a time. I've got my legend, I've got a header, I've got subhead, I've got a footer with my assumptions, my time period on it. And now this is something I can mark up. I can add comments to. There are those event categories that led me to the opportunity that this company might be of interest, potentially collaborative in carbon capture and utilization, where they're active, concepts that are unique and important to this entity, and who they're working with, and whether or not it might be worth partnering for us, for example, based on what I see for their collaborative nature out in the market. So as you throw off signals in developing your own carbon footprint, or others do, I think it's important to understand that this can be mapped. And whether it's for carbon capture or for any other technology that we're all trying to understand, wrap our heads around, this is a great way, this haiku of study the landscape, to get stories told, decisions made, but most importantly, teams on the same page. A haiku. Dashboards map value, hindsight, insight, and foresight. more traction, less time. Thank you.